Hey, what's going on, fight fans? Hey, this is Coach D, the Wild Man, coming at you again. Another episode of Coach D Media. You know I do with Coach D Media, talking about all things combat sports related, from the highs to the lows. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Today, we're going to have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. And basically, I'm going to talk about UWW, Gamma USA, and Olympic recognition as it applies to combat athletes, right? So it's time to have more of a serious conversation about where we're going to head with athletes as we're trying to head towards the Olympics, right? Because sooner or later it's going to happen. We're going to be stamped for athletes to compete in the Olympics. So the question is, are we ready? Do we have the quality of athletes to compete in the Olympics and make a great showing representing the United States? Okay. So, of course, we've mapped out all our programs. We have a youth program, amateur programs, we got pro programs. We have high level promotions like the UFC, PFL, One Championship. So, we have a lot of product out there to produce athletes. Okay. But when we're talking about the Olympics, right? Do we want all our pros to compete, to take the spotlight of athletes who needs to develop to be our athletes that's going to compete primarily for the Olympics, right? Are we looking for a John Jones or somebody like a Demetrius Johnson, all the guys who are on the entertainment side of mixed martial arts? Or do we want developed athletes who have a mindset to focus on the sport of mixed martial arts, which I've been saying down the line for a while, right? Getting back to the sport of mixed martial arts. Now we have a platform where the sport is paramount. We're not saying that you can't go from the Olympics into like the UFC or One Championship or PFL. We're not saying that. We're saying we want you to compete in the Olympics first as the sport. Just like when you watch the Olympics, back in the day, you see Usain Bolt, he always competed in the Olympics. You didn't see him anywhere else. You didn't see him on any other track other than the Olympics, right? You didn't see a lot of stars do anything else who competed in the Olympics do anything else but the Olympics until they were done with the Olympics. Then they did other stuff like Kayla Harrison and Henry Cejudo, right? Freaking who else? Everybody who competed in the Olympics that are in the UFC, there are now stars or were stars. They did just the Olympics up to that point. They didn't cross into any other areas. Now they may be a popular, they may have done a commercial or two, but they focused on just the Olympics and training for the Olympics. And that's what we have to do for this next generation of athletes coming up that want to compete in the Olympics down the line, right? We have to teach them how to be elite athletes for mixed martial arts. Now, the problem we have today is we do have a lot of gyms, right? And we have a lot of gyms who are producing one or two great athletes, but we don't have a professional gym that's all they do is develop athletes. We have a lot of commercial gyms they have a lot of members, but it's towards the commercial side of competition. They're gonna train. They're gonna either do it to stay in shape. They're gonna do it to have something to do after school, right? And they may do a tournament here or there, right? But their mindset is not to be an elite athlete. Okay, it's not their goal to go, I'm going to make it into the UFC. Now you may have aspirations for that. You may want to do that. That don't mean you may have the program or the funding or the capabilities to do it. It may not be in your state. There's a lot of states that still aren't producing mixed martial arts on a regular basis, right? We normally pull from the same gyms over and over and over again. There's not a lot of gyms that are capable of competing. Just like on the Gamma side and the tournament side, a lot of gyms with great athletes can't afford to go compete in worlds. They can maybe be able to do locally, right? But they don't have the budget to compete internationally. So we're not seeing all our best athletes compete in Gamma. Okay? But now we're getting ready for UWW to bring MMA under their, umbrella, and they're going to be putting on tournaments. So what does that mean? Right? We're going to have Gamma tournaments and we're going to have UWW tournaments. So there will be a order of when you can compete and how you're going to be selected to compete is what's going to come up next is who gets picked to compete at a UWW world tournament, right? There's going to have to be some kind of selection. Right now, starting off, James David Gray, who's our head coach for Gamma USA, he's going to have a big part in picking the athletes that compete. What I like about James, he's no nonsense. He wants the best to compete. He wants every weight class, to have an athlete there, but he wants the best to be in that slot. He ain't gonna take you just because you want to compete. You got to either have a track record that says you're qualified, competed and won in previous tournaments to say he's seen you compete, okay, or your record can be quantified of who you competed with to go, okay, he's fought great fighters. It ain't gonna be just because you want it, okay. But that goes into how are you measured as an athlete? How do you define yourself as an athlete? Is it your goal to be the best? Is it your goal to go, look, I want to fight only the best? Now, if you're a developing athlete, young adult or young amateur, of course, experience plays a high factor. But if you've been doing the game for a while and you consider yourself the best, but yet you haven't fought top tier talent, how can we say you're the best? Okay, so these are the things that we're going to be answering down the line when it comes to selection process. So you have to begin to start looking for high level competition as we move closer and closer to not only UWW having tournaments, but as we get closer and closer to the Olympics, there no longer can be questions of your skill level, right? If your skill level is not up to par, you just can't say, I want it. It don't matter what you want. Your skill sets have to relate that to everybody who's going to be picking you. Coaching selections, tournament selections, point selections. Like Justin Brown says, we're going to have a point system coming up real soon that's going to determine your ranking. So once he's done with his system that's going to be out, that's going to be to track not only Gamma USA athletes, UWW athletes, it's going to be a tracking system for tournament athletes. So whether you rank as a novice, of an amateur, or a pro, your point system is gonna determine that. You ain't gonna be able to say, hey, I'm top tier, not by your ranking, not by your point system. You haven't fought some of the best. You haven't competed in some of the high level tournaments, right? So you can always do a local tournament. That's not gonna go towards your tournament status, right? Only competing in national tournaments that are under the ranking systems will you be able to be determined how good you are as a athlete. You're not going to be selected because you want to be. So times are changing, right? We're getting to the point that only the cream will rise to the top, right? There'll be the top, medium, low, novice, beginners, youth, etc. There's gonna be a breaking down system to where you fall, and you be asked kindly to be in that system, and so you can develop and go up. If you don't want to be in the system, if you think you match higher, right, it just won't be under that system, and you won't be competing in high level international tournaments as we head towards the Olympics. All right. So a game plan is coming. A system is coming. A way to perform is coming. Okay. So now we have to start looking at developing the community that gets it all done. Right. I've met and been a part of and seen a lot of great parents who want the best for their children. Okay. But we still do a lot of individual stuff when it comes to MMA and mixed martial arts. We haven't quite developed our community yet, like we have in jiu-jitsu, like we have in wrestling, like we have in other combat sports that have huge communities. Jiu-jitsu has a huge community, but it's not all necessarily transitioning over into MMA, right? They try to stay in their lane, try to create their own tournament systems. They have to do a lot so you don't have to compete anywhere else. Now you may get one or two jiu-jitsu high levels that come over to MMA, but it's not the norm. They're not the norm. You're not getting a large amount of jiu-jitsu practitioners coming into MMA because at the end of the day you kick in the face. You go for a leg lock and somebody give you a knee. Somebody soccer kick you in the gut. You know what I'm saying? That changes a lot when it comes to mixed martial arts. And speaking of boxers can have high level skills and can come over, right? But like I said, they ain't trying to get kicked in the thigh. You see what I'm saying? So even though there's a lot of opportunities in MMA, a lot of people don't want that smoke. Just being blunt with you. So when you able to start MMA from the youth and develop in the sport, it becomes second nature and normal. So now that we have a youth and amateur development system, we can develop some of our own stars. We don't necessarily have to pull them from other areas. Now we want to, wrestling still being the base for MMA, we would love to get a lot more wrestlers coming over, and we're developing systems for that to happen too, with USA Wrestling under UWW as well. So we're going to cross train down the line eventually. Okay. But it comes down to developing your fighter and having the mentality that that's the goal. Okay. As a coach, now we're getting into coaching. As a coach, and you have a goal to reach for not only your gym and not only your athletes, you need to have more honest conversations about the development of athletes. You need to flat out ask them, do you want to compete in MMA? Do you want to do it just as a sport and do local tournaments, keep it simple? You're not trying to go up as a pro and become, in the UFC or go to the Olympics. If that's what you want, let that be where they're at so you know how to train them. Okay, now if you see somebody who has, talent and has the drive, it's the same questions you have to have them so you know how to build your athletes. Even though they all train together, some are going to need more progressive training than others because their skill set is ramping up very quickly. And where you're going to send them to go compete and who they're going to compete against, all that's a factor as a coach. Talking to the fighter, talking to the parents, right? So that we can develop the community that we grow. So that we can be able to have more abilities to get more funding because the community says it's worth it, right? We still have to understand we are going up against nations that support their athletes, right? I just got the word Indonesia is going to be holding the Gamma Global Conference, right? They're already developing, full-time training systems for their athletes after Brazil. Brazil was such a cluster F that everybody, meaning Indonesia, says, look, we're going to redo a lot of this. I've heard they're going to throw millions into developing Gamma Global after the conference. A lot of stuff's getting ready to happen. So if you thought you knew what Gamma was all about, I'm here to tell you, you don't. It's going to be changing in a big way, right? On top of what I just said about other nations like the Asian communities, they put big money into developing their athletes. We're not there yet. Families have to come out their pocket. There is no government spending for athletes competing, internationally. It's just not there. Now, when you do a UWW tournament, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be funding that tournament. So a lot may be covered when it comes to the tournament. I don't know about you as an individual fighter. I have to learn more about that. Okay. But still, there's no systems for locally in the state or nationally that supports international competition for MMA. So we got to build a community to where we can pull resources so that everything can get done on a pro level. Right? Where far is going to go train? Who are they going to train with? Coaching, all that stuff has to be mapped out down the line. We can't just assume a coach is qualified because they say they are. They have to have a track record, done some things, been there, done it, so we can see. There's going to have to be levels of qualification. And that's the good thing about it, right? We can start doing it. And, Gamma USA is going to have a coaching system come out too that's going to map that out. So we're covering all the bases. There's going to be no guesswork down the line, right? If you're skilled, it's going to have to be proven. It ain't going to be up for grabs, right? So that when we go to a tournament, the best go. So will we rather have 5 high-level elite fighters going to a tournament or 15 to 20 subpar athletes going to a tournament? Because you got the numbers don't mean we got the skill. It's a difference. So we got a lot getting ready to happen. Quality versus quantity is going to be a big thing. Right? Now, if we create pipelines from wrestling coming over to MMA training, then that may be a good development system that we can have, but it ain't happening just yet. We get a couple of breakout stars, but we don't have a lot of wrestlers coming to MMA being breakout stars. We have some. Okay? So we have a lot of work to do to get where we're trying to go. Right? And for me as a coach myself, so people who just got to know me as I've been with Gamma, they only see me as Coach D Media, right? They don't know I'm an actual coach. They don't know that I have history in athlete development. They don't know that I do meal plans, training, supplementation, the whole line to develop athletes. So now that we're heading towards the Olympics, right? In my mind, as a Marine, I am now called to serve. What I mean by that is that I can't sit back and let the next generation of athletes be developed without me applying skills that I know how to do for their development, right? One thing I know is body performance. My skill when it comes to coaching is athletic performance. What can a body do? How far can it train? How far can it be pushed? What it takes to recover? What foods to eat? What supplements to take? And why? To build a efficient athlete. So me stepping back in as coach is for that very thing, to develop a coaching system for athletic performance. My job ain't to teach you how to strike. My job is the muscles that you strike with are developed correctly. Okay, it's my job not to teach you how to scramble. My job is to make sure that you have the gas tank to scramble with. Okay, my job not to teach you when to shut it off. My job is to let you know that your body needs your rest so that you know how to keep from getting injured. This is what I do as Coach D and Coach D's performance, right? It's that very thing, right? So I'm stepping back up, getting back in the game so we can start developing the next generation of true combat athletes, right? That's what I do. That's what I know how to do. That's why my name has always been Coach D. It ain't been Tom's, media. It's been Coach D because I started from coaching and just added media onto the end of my name as Coach D. All right. So we got a lot getting ready to happen. A lot we're getting ready to do, right? I'm going to create a coaching community to where you can join the community. You'll send me your email and everything like that. I'm gonna send you an ebook on nutritional coaching, supplementation, and so you can get an idea of what I do. Then we can start developing systems that I help your gym out. If you don't have a true training performance program, I will help you get there. Right? I will go, hey, these are some things you can start doing. Right now, as coaches, we got pride. Right? We don't want to have our athletes go to anybody else but us. That's fine. That's fine. I can teach you how to teach your athletes. It's not a problem. As long as you're willing to go, okay, my fighters need better gas tanks. My fighters need to know how to cut weight better, how to manage their weight correctly, how to eat the right foods, what are the right foods, when should they eat, how should they eat. All these things go into what we're going to do so that the right athletes who are properly trained compete in the upper levels of competition like UWW and eventually the Olympics. There's a reason I'm doing it. It ain't because, hey, I'm me. It's because we need it to be done, right? If we want to have the best representation of the United States. The Olympics represents the United States. Gamma Global, UWW, is international competition. We're saying the United States is this level. Now, Brazil was chaos, but we won. We're number one. I would like to maintain that as we go into the next phase of this, which is UWW. We have Greece coming up. We have Serbia coming up. Are we ready? Cut and dry. Are we ready? Right? Can we bring our best? Are we recruiting our best? Do we know they're the best? How do we know they're the best? Okay? Taking the pride out of it. Right? Are they the best, and can we quantify that? Is next. Is what's on the table next. So is no more mixing words. It's here. The stuff we've been doing since 2017 is here. We're here now. We are now required to develop the best athletes to compete at the highest level. Period. Right? So that's what I'm doing. That's what I believe I'm called to do as Coach D. I've been at this game long enough. We are now here. No need to mince words. No need to cut corners. We have to do the development. So this is the first introduction to what needs to happen from my point of view. So we're going to be having coaches' corners, where for me, I will say, hey, we'll get coaches together. We get 3 or 4, up to 6 coaches together, and we have a round robin about training. We'll just have conversations to where we'll make a live podcast where people can chime in and ask questions, so coaches can share knowledge, general knowledge, right? About jiu-jitsu, about boxing, about kickboxing, MMA, all of it when it comes to coaching. It's about coaching knowledge, right? If you think you're the best coach and you have something to say, then let's say it. Get it out there. Let's have conversations. Ain't nobody gonna be stealing your clients. It's gonna be conversations. That's it. Develop better training systems, right? If something's obsolete, get rid of it and put something in its place, right? So we can evolve as fighters, so we can evolve as elite athletes. That's the whole goal of all this. So I'm excited. What we're going to do is about to step up a ramp in a big way. So if you want to step up and be accounted amongst one of the elite coaches, it's time. It's time to separate yourself from the pack. It's time to figure out what makes you one of the best, how you should be one of the coaches, athletes should come see. Period. If you on a commercial side or if you on the production side of producing athletes. Now, real talk, right? Is there a whole bunch of money in producing athletes by itself? No. So you got to have a certain niche of MMA athletes, a certain niche of people who wants to train, a certain niche of people who just want to hang out. It got to be across the board. So overall, your gym can survive. I get it, but that don't mean that component is not needed. And if it's going to be in your gym, it has to be at the elite level to perform elite athletes. So pro, amateur, novice, youth, all have the categories. And a certain number of each, you got a gym. Now I'm combining proper nutrition, proper supplements, proper performance training. Now you got an athlete. That's why I'm going to step in and start getting it done. So that's all I got. This is Coach D getting in the ring, get ready to do my daggone thing so we can start building the next generation of athletes, because we're here. The Olympics is coming. Are we ready? So I'm going to have links at the end in the description about how you can get in contact with me for online coaching, supplementation, meal planning, right? We can build a program for your gym if you don't have one. I'm going to be doing a lot to help you out. So this is Coach D doing what I'm doing, calling like I see it. To hear from me again, peace out.